tonight's edition of 20 Minutes, we are commemorating Rosa Parks on her gallant efforts to help kickstart a movement that forever changed our nation. Tonight, we will reflect on some of the major events that led to the end of segregation in our country. Let's go back to December 1st, 1955, the day that Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on the bus.
This evening, Miss Rosa Parks, an African-American seamstress, was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on the bus for a white passenger. After a day at work at Montgomery Fair Department Store, Parks boarded the Cleveland Avenue bus at about 6 p.m. in downtown Montgomery. Witnesses say that Rosa paid her fare and sat in an empty seat in the first row of black seats that are reserved for the coloreds. Near the middle of the bus, directly behind the 10 seats reserved for white passengers, when the bus reached the third stop in the front of the Empire Theater, several white passengers boarded, and when asked by James Blake to move, Rosa Parks refused.
Well, I was just going along my route as usual, and I noticed the bus started to get pretty full. I saw this white man stand up and all these colored people sitting there. No one was moving for him, so I went back and I said, "Hey, give your seat up for this white man." And this woman started giving me trouble. Now, she had been a pest in the past, so I told her, "Hey lady, if you don't get up and let this man sit, I'm calling the authorities." And she still refused. So I did what I had to and I called the cops. I had trouble with her in the past.
Parks is secretary of the Montgomery chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and has recently attended the Highlander Folk School, a Tennessee Center for Workers' Rights and Racial Equality. Rumor of a bus boycott has surfaced. However, Parks is still in custody and we will keep you updated on this situation.
Wow, what a stir-up this event started. Many white citizens were outraged, and many black citizens were given some sort of sense of hope. Thus, the Montgomery bus boycott began. Word spread like wildfire, and by the next day, black citizens refused to ride the public transit. Let's take a closer look.
At present, we are in the midst of a protest, the Negro citizens of Montgomery, representing some 44% of the population. 90% at least of the regular Negro bus passengers are staying off the buses, and we plan to continue until something is done.
Last night, after the one-day boycott of the Montgomery City buses, the Montgomery Improvement Association met for its first meeting. Thousands of black citizens met at Holt Baptist Church, led by President Dr. Martin Luther King. At the meeting, it was decided that the bus boycott would continue indefinitely. There is no doubt that the continuation of this boycott will result in the bus companies suffering economically, and there is already talk of negotiations. We will keep you updated with the details of the situation.
As I stand here and look out upon the thousands of Negro faces and the thousands of white faces intermingle like the waters of a river, I see only one face. That is the face of the future. Yes, as I gaze upon this great historic assembly, this unprecedented gathering of young people, I cannot help thinking that 100 years from now, the historians will be calling this not the Beat generation, but the generation of integration.
In addition to Rosa's efforts and the Montgomery bus boycott, many other events began to take place to end segregation in our nation. Let's take a closer look at a group of individuals considered the Freedom Riders.
In April of 1961, groups of both black and white citizens started a nonviolent protest to ban segregation. Together, this group of people rode the public transit around the South together peacefully, demanding the rights they deserved. They were considered the Freedom Riders. Not allowing any type of violence, brutality, or jail sentence to stand in their way, the Freedom Riders persevered to successfully portray their powerful message to the South. Eventually, their protests spread to train stations and airports. Finally, in November, the Interstate Commerce Commission issued rules prohibiting segregated transportation facilities.
In addition to the Freedom Riders, thousands of college students began to also take a stand against segregation in other public places. These events were considered sit-ins.
For the past 2 years, college students from all over have been participating in sit-ins in F.W. Woolworth stores. It started on February 1st, 1960, when 4 college students sat down at the lunch counter in the Montgomery, Alabama store after shopping for school supplies when they were refused service. These 4 boys sat there waiting until the store closed. They went back the next day and did the same thing. Since then, over 70,000 people have joined in on the sit-ins and over 3,000 people have been arrested. Every time someone was arrested, the counter filled back up with more people. Store owners have been posting signs in the stores saying, "Closed, no trespassing, and we reserve the right to serve the public as we see fit." These signs do not seem to be stopping the sit-in participants. When Joseph McNeil, one of the original 4 boys, was asked why we were doing the sit-ins, he answered, "We believe since we buy books and papers in the other parts of the stores, we should get served in this part."
How did you feel about Rosa Parks giving up her seat?
You know what? I thought Rosa Parks was very courageous for what she did. I mean, not a lot of people have the courage to actually stand up, you know?
How does integration feel?
It feels good. I've been waiting for this moment for a really long time. I mean, after...
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Let me ask this question. What do colored people now hope to gain by pressing the segregation fight at this time? What immediate results do you hope to achieve?
Well, we hope to achieve equal rights as any human being deserves. That's what we're working for.
What do you think the prospects are for achieving that goal?
I think we'll be successful if we continue.
How long do you think it would take?
I have no idea.
And go home to my Lord and be free.
As Mrs. Parks once said, "I knew someone had to take the first step, and I made up my mind not to move." Today we thank her for her courageous efforts and the change she evoked in our nation. Thanks for joining us tonight.